Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I am your host and foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, and today we are assembling the Perdita Core box for the Guild faction, the family keyword. Box is a little bit different than most core boxes. Instead of giving us any minions, we just got a whole bunch of enforcers and a henchman, and of course Perdita herself. So there's Perdita, then you have Papa Loco, Nino, Francisco, Santiago, the Enslaved Nephilim, and the highlight of this video, Abuela. But that's our artwork. Renders on the back. Perdita Nephilim, the Enslaved Nephilim is going to be our totem. So that's the model we'll do second. Then Francisco, the henchman, Nino, Papa, Santiago, and finish with Abuela. That's our order. Alright, let's look at the sprues. Here's the main sprue with 6 of our 7 models. Perdita's down here. Not a whole lot of difficulty out of all of them. Looks like Nino's got a few small bits, so this might be our second most difficult one. But all in all, this sprue should go pretty quickly. Abuela, on the other hand, is going to be difficult. It's one of those notorious models in the game. So we're going to be really careful with this one, especially all our tiny bits like her pipe and these little baby skulls. We'll figure it out when we get to it. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at our instructions first. Okay, Perdita is up first. We will combine her 2 legs together with her torso to start. We'll add the gun and the holster on her hip right along there. Then we'll wrap around her shoulders this jacket, I assume some kind of jacket, which will allow us to attach her right arm and her left arm. And then I believe her head is next, and whatever this is, let me look at that. It is not in the instructions, but it's this piece back here, so it's maybe attaching to her butt somewhere. We'll figure that out. Might be our last bit, but let's go ahead and start on the legs. Here's the left leg, the one with the actual holster on it, and we're going to connect our right leg to, right here where the pelvis would be. Okay, the connection point for the torso is a little uneven looking, but it's correct. You can just check the belt and how easily it flows from one side to the next, and on the back side too, just to be safe. We're good. Now let's pop that torso on top. Okay, torso. Took some trimming to really get it to fit in there correctly. Maybe I just didn't scrape off the connection point with the sprue as well as I thought I did, but it looks good, nice and flush. Let's grab that gun in the holster and put it right there. There is, besides the obvious where the holster glues to the thigh, there is a groove cut in the belt for the grip of the pistol. And goodness, having a hard time focusing tonight. There it is. All right, now let's do that sash. So our connection point for the sash looks to be right here. You can see the smooth part of the plastic that indicates a connection point. Now, as far as what's it connecting to, here's our sprue, Perdita Ortega, and here is our bit. Connection point is on the back of this, right there. Okay, there it is attached. Let's go ahead and look at our connection points. Just fine, and if we look at it from the front, that's almost going to completely match our render on the back of the box. Hooray. Alright, now let's add the jacket that's on it. In fact, let's quickly review the sprue. Alright, the next piece is going to be this, which is her jacket, vest, whatever. And once that's on, we'll go ahead and add the right arm, the left arm, her head, and then we're done. That fits right over the top of the torso like a sheath. And here we are from the back. Alright, now let's go ahead and add our left arm too. Excuse me, let's add our right arm, sorry, right here. And goes on just fine, nice, and nearly seamless. Okay, let's do the left arm, which is holding the gun now. Alright, this one's a little bit harder just because there's no like hook or tooth to it. So you just gotta kind of slant it around until it fits in the right way. But as long as you are trying to match the angle on the render, you'll be just fine. Let's give her a head and call her good. And there's a lot of connection across your shoulders, so this bit's gonna fit real solid once you get on there. As you can see, the hair wraps around the shoulder. That is, the upper arm and shoulder. So yet another connection point, and there she is from the back. We're all done. Put her on a base. Perdita Ortega is done. Pretty easy model. Hardest part was the little sashy thing attached to her leg because that wasn't on the instructions. Pretty simple though. Let's move on. Alright, the totem, the Enslaved Nephilim, only 6-7 pieces. Cool. Should be fine. We'll grab the body and then do the right leg and the left leg. We'll then connect those two with this chain down here, and then we will do the left hand, the right arm, and the head. That's it. Let's grab the body and the right leg first. Here is our tiny little torso, and the right leg is going to go right there. Right leg's all done. Now let's do the left one on the other side. Okay, left leg. Took a little rotation to get it to sit right in the connection point, but nothing too hard. Let's look at our seams. Alright, now our chain is going to be a little weird just because there's no obvious connection points on either of these cuffs. However, looking at the instructions, we are looking at it sort of from the front view. So this one will go to the right leg, and this one will go to the left leg. Another point of reference is this little bump right here is closer to the right side than the left side. I mean, if you grab this and you accidentally drop it, that's how you orientate it. Alright, so it looks like the instructions have this bit flipped. If you look at the render, the little hump is actually supposed to be closer to the left leg. So I apologize for getting that wrong. So one last point of reference. You see these sort of bar things on either end of the chain. Those are supposed to sit on the complete opposite side of these sort of similarly shaped rectangles on the cuffs. So you see where this is, the connection on the chain would be on the complete opposite side of that. Same with this one right here. The chain would situate over here. Alright, I wouldn't say that was super easy, but it actually went in without too much difficulty or too much poking with pokey sticks. So that's what it looks like on the front. Let's grab a quick gander at the back. Alright, so let's go ahead and do his right arm now, which is the full arm as opposed to the singular hand holding the ball. Well, this is really disorienting because the fingies normally aren't supposed to point that way, but that's what it looks like on the render. That's our connection. Nothing difficult. Now we can do the left hand, which is the one holding the ball. Ball and chain. Connection point looks pretty good. Alright, let's do the head and call him good. Goblin-y face is on. Kind of hard to see the back of the neck, but a little bit of the bit is actually his neck. Sort of wraps around the connection point on the shoulders, ever so slightly. Alright, base him. Enslaved Nephilim is done. Hardest part was the chain in between his legs, getting that sorted. Other than that, pretty simple. Let's keep on with the simple models then. Let's go to Frank. Francisco, our henchman, looking to be relatively easy. We'll grab the body and then do the missing leg, I think the right leg. After that, we'll add the cape on it, covering his butt, the ruffles on his chest, and then his right arm, his left arm, and his hat. Yeah. Here is Frank's body, and we'll just go ahead and now attach the right leg. There's the leg attached. And view from the back. Alright, the flowing bit of cloth is going to go right along his booty on this little ledge. Well, that coat's really stuck to his butt. Anyways, there it is, all nice and flowy. The edges are going to have a little bit more of a gap than I kind of want, but gap filling isn't that hard of a thing to do, and I need to teach you how to build this model, so we'll just move on. Next will be the ruffle that's right here on his chest. And if we look at the bit, the narrower end is up towards his neck. And his ruffles are in. Simple enough. Okay, right arm, the one holding the sword, going right there. Huzzah, he is now armed. Alright, there's our seam. Next will be the left arm, which is holding the gun. Yes, it's a gun. It just has a big old bayonet on it, too. That's going to go right in this lovely hole. Alright, not 100% certain on the orientation of that arm, but the seam is pretty thin, and it roughly matches the render specifically having him almost slicing off his own kneecap. So I'd say that's pretty close. Okay, last is his hat, which the big old connection point on the top of his head. It is a thing of beauty that's massive. I love it so much. Alright, Francisco is done. Let's put him on a base. Francisco Ortega is done. The hardest parts of this build was the cape doesn't quite fit right. It needs a little bit of trimming to get it to fit in there more flush, and how the left arm is oriented is a little weird and not the it's fine. Anyways, let's move on to Nino is next, I think. All right. Nino is going to be slightly more difficult than the past three models, just on account of a lot of bits and some tiny ones too. We're going to start by taking the body and adding the skirt of the coat, I guess, onto it, which is hollow. Then we will add both the legs to him going through this. Once we have that, we'll add the barrels of the gun he's carrying. We'll go ahead and do both arms, then add the shield and the bullets that's attached to the gun. After that, whatever this is that's situated on his back, the head, and then the little feathers or whatever they are that attach to his hat. Right. Okay. Grab the body and this skirt thing. Here's the body, and we can already see this lovely little notch on the inside, which is a connection point for the skirt, which has the corresponding tooth right there. There, they are connected. Okay, now let's figure out our leg situation. I'm going to attempt to combine the legs to each other first, and then glue the entire thing inside the torso. Alright, here are our legs combined. Seam looks pretty good. As far as orienting them inside the skirt, this leg that is stepping back is going to go right along this part of the skirt. So front of the body orientation. Alright, adjusting my light source so you can see inside of there. Went in just easy, and it looks really good matching the render. So next we're going to go ahead and grab the multi-barrels of the gun and slap that on the base of the gun, which is attached to its torso. Connection point being right there. There are our gun barrels. Kind of sad that that gap is there, but can't really do anything without a lot of shaving, so we'll just leave it be for now. Okay, let's do the arms. The right arm first. which will connect here, as well as you can kind of see the shape of it going over the top of the gun. It will end with a the hand holding onto a handle somewhere around here. But the arm in question is also the one that has this strap on it, and that's the way you can tell it's the right arm. See the strap right here. All right, let's add that. And there's our arm attached. You can see the strap sort of connects to this nub right here, and then the hand and handle on the sort of circular part of the gun. Blah. Terrible time describing things tonight, I'm sorry. Let's do the left arm, which will connect here, and I believe connect right here on the weapon. And left arm looks alright. And you can see that part I pointed out to it's connected to, implying that that's where the handle is attached, that's in the left hand. Okay, 2 more pieces for the gun, and then we can move on. First is the shield. You can barely make out the connection point. One second. Yeah, just had to check to be sure. Our connection point is right here. Maybe if I shift it around a little bit, you can kind of see the texture difference. That'll tell you that's where the shield connects to. The shield, it is this piece right here. The notch in it will be towards the outside of the gun, and this will be the top of it. Okay, a couple things of note. One, you can glue it to his thigh. I recommend doing that because that's just going to make it a lot less likely for it to just pop off. 2, you see that sort of rectangular thing on the shield, and it has a partner on the gun that's used that as your point of reference to make sure that it's sitting where it's supposed to on the gun. But there's what it looks like from the back, nothing interesting. Alright, now the bullets. Here's our bit, the side that's wider. This side is what's going to connect to the top of the gun. I cannot see any sort of connection point on it. However, if you look at the render, it is effectively touching the strap here on the arm. So I will recommend gluing it to that around right here, just to give it a good solid connection. Okay, there we go. I'm going to call that good. Not going to fiddle with it too much. Otherwise, I'm probably going to knock it out of place. All right, 3 pieces left. Very simple one. The sort of twisted knot of straps or belts or whatever is going to go back here. Sorry, I didn't give you an orientation, but there's a sort of a piece jutting out right here that goes on this left side. But not all done with that. So now let's fix our bullets and then do the head. He is really turning his head to the side. But there we go. Almost done. Our sort of tails of this belt or whatever thing he has on the back of his head. You can see the connection point for it. Right. And whoops. Right in there. Well, yeah, you should probably figure out which. Here, let me try that again. Right in there. And then the tails are going to be going this direction. The nice thing is that hole in the back of the hat is a semicircle, so there's only one way that's going to actually fit in there. Alright, we're done with Nino. Let's put him on a base. Nino Ortega is done. The hardest part of this model was the feathers on the back of the hat and the bullet cartridge magazine thing coming out of the top of the gun because it has no real connection point. You just gotta kind of wing it. Yeah, decent amount of little pieces. The shield on the gun wasn't great either, but didn't give me nearly as much headache as probably the last model in this box. I'm scared of Abuela, but let's move on to something simpler. Papa Loco. Papa Loco, thankfully, is only 5 pieces, so this should go quick. We're going to go ahead and grab the legs and add the torso on top. After that, we'll do his, I believe that's a holster, which is going to go right here on his left thigh, followed by the head, and lastly, the strap of the straitjacket, which goes effectively on his right shoulder and also connects to the calf right there. Okay, so grab the legs and then the torso. Legs and torso. He's got a pretty bad hunch. Alright, now let's do his holster for his gun. We're looking right at it. The connection point is this big tooth right there. Okay, it is kind of tucking in behind the calf there. You could probably also glue it to the calf if you wanted. Let's add his head now. Terribly stable Papa Loco. Alright. The last piece, the sort of sleeve of the straitjacket, you can see the connection point right here, and it'll go down and connect to the calf as well. Okay, that's on. Yeah. We're all good. Base him. Papa Loco is done. Hardest part of this model was the small holster for the gun. That was a little weird getting on there. Also, the sleeve of the straitjacket, or whatever that dangly thing is with the hook, was just a little on the weird side. But it's just me trying to come up with a difficulty for this model. Let's move on to the big boy. Santiago, also only 5 pieces. Alright. We will do this one by grabbing the legs and putting the torso on there. Go ahead and do the left hand, the head, and finish with the very tiny belt buckle, which goes where belt buckles go. Okay. Legs plus torso. Okay, now let's do our left arm, hand, gun. For some reason, he is holding it sideways, almost completely parallel to the ground. But that's the orientation we want. Let's quickly look at our seam, just to be safe. Looks decent. Okay, now let's add the head. Oh, he's screaming. I'm sure he's having a blast. Alright, last but not least, the belt buckle, which is, they give you like a lot of flat surface to put it on. I'm just going to aim for right here, which seems center enough. There, his belt has a buckle. Tweezers are a godsend. Let's put him on a base now. Santiago Ortega is done. Spurting out over all of that base. Hardest part was the belt buckle because it was very, 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 very tiny. Everything else was super duper easy. Can't complain too much. Okay, let's do the hard one. Like a lot of grandmas, you can very obviously see why no one wants to visit her in the old folks' home. She's going to be a pain in the ass. Right, okay. So we're going to do a thing a couple times here, especially around the hat, where we will actually glue pieces, 2 pieces that are still on the sprue, just for stability, because small pieces to slightly smaller pieces is difficult enough as it is. So we're actually going to start with the spigot back here. Don't think too much about what that shape looks like. And then we're going to add it to the back of the chair of the wheelchair. It's going to jam into that hole in between these 2 pipe things. So use some tweezers, and actually I think this is one where we'll cut this out and then glue the spigot in there, just because it's kind of recessed. Once we have that, we're going to take that seat and add it to this tank back here. Then we'll combine the 2 halves of the wheelchair, do the handle, that's for some sort of propelling motion, and then the wheels. Once we're done with the wheelchair, we will get started on Grandma herself. We will go from the top down, I think, actually. So we're going to do the hat. The hat is probably going to be the biggest pain in the butt. Grab that, and we're not going to grab it. We are going to attach stuff to it while it's sitting there on the sprue, like a good boy, which includes this set of 3 skulls and these 2 tiny frickin' skulls that go on these little dots. Then we'll combine the 2 halves of the head, her head, and her hair. Actually, we'll do her pipe. Glue that to her head first, and then combine that with her hair and glue that to the hat. Then glue that to the body. We'll do both of her arms at that point. Might do the arms before we put the head onto there. I'm not sure yet. And then we'll just add 1 grandma to 1 wheelchair and call it good. Lots of blabbing. Effectively, we're going to start by clipping this piece out and then adding this piece to it. And reminder, our connection point is going to be this end, not this end. This one. Oops. Okay, our back of the chair before. Alright, there is our spigot. Try to make it parallel with the other things that are sticking out back there. But okay, next we're going to grab our tank, and we're going to glue that to the chair, the connection point being these two pieces, which were those pipes we just saw, and this tooth. Okay, our two pieces are now combined. Wish I didn't flail around too bad. Alright, we're going to go ahead and set this down for a sec, and then combine the two halves of the body of the wheelchair, this one and this one. Went together simple enough. Just make sure it's nice and even. One side isn't higher than the other. Now we're going to jam our tank and the back seat of the wheelchair onto the body. Alright, things are going pretty well so far anyways. So now we have the body of the wheelchair done. We just need some wheels. So you can see our connection points for the wheels. The back large wheels are going to connect right here, and the front ones are just going to connect here and here, effectively so that these axles connect the two sets of wheels. I do not think there are specific wheels for the specific sides, so I'm just going to add them as I see fit. I'll let you know if I think I'm wrong on that. Alright, I did both of them. I do not think there's a specific side to each. Don't spend a whole ton of time adjusting the wheels, though. Just make sure that they'll sit relatively flat on the ground and call them good. I'm going to let these cure, and then we'll do our front wheels. And there are our front wheels. We've got a neat little cart. Last thing before we move on to Abuela herself is this hole right here, which is going to be the handle for the cart. Abuela, be this piece right here, and that connection point is going to be on the other side right there. And as a friendly reminder to prevent things going flying and you losing them forever, or snapping very thin, delicate pieces, grab it with your fingies, thumb and forefinger, on the hand that isn't operating the snips. There we go. Well done. There we go. Honestly, this thing is looking kind of cute. Hopefully I didn't mess anything up. Alright, let's work on Grandma now. So it was at this point I realized that someone did tell me a while ago that you were supposed to encase Grandma into the wheelchair and not build the wheelchair separately. I screwed that up. I apologize. Went ahead and pulled the model apart. It actually comes apart fairly comfortably. Even kept the wheels on all the pieces. So went ahead and added Grandma's legs to one half of the wheelchair. We're going to put her torso on, and then do her hands, and then we'll add all the pieces back onto the mini. But again, hopefully you are not following this immediately step by step and watching the whole video first. So as you can see here, she's sitting comfortably in the spot she's supposed to. Let's add her torso, on top here. Haha, I lied again. Let's not do the torso because that is basically sitting on top of her arm, the one holding the gun. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that on first, and it's going to go right here. The handle of the pistol is going to sit right there on her thigh. The bit I am talking about is this one. We're looking at the connection point on the side of the wheelchair, so it's going to be sitting up, and we'd be looking down on it like this. Excuse me. Yeah, let's add the torso now onto her legs and arm. Alright, there it is. As you can see, it'd be really hard to fit the arm in there once the torso is on. You really want to check that connection point on the elbow and make sure that seam is very small. Let's go ahead and look at her from the back real quick, just to see generally how that lines up. Okay, before we add her to the other half of the wheelchair and sort of clean up all that crap I had to take apart, we are going to add her little tiny hand onto this half of the wheelchair. This right here is her right arm. And this would be effectively where it ends. The hand would be coming out here. So let's glue that in. I already cut it out accidentally. I apologize. But it would be right here on the sprue. So let's see if I can grab it and quickly show it to you. It's a little tiny hand. Alright, let's glue that in. There, I think that will work. I can always nudge it later once we combine these two halves, but let's go ahead and do that so we can fix the orientation of this hand if we need to. So let's recombine the wheelchair. Okay, next fun bullcrap that I had to figure out. Someone go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong, but she's not going to fit. The two halves of the wheelchair are not going to fit together with her sleeve intact. I had to shave this down a whole bunch and did some dry fitting to a point where the two halves of the wheelchair will go together comfortably, and this is still lined up with her arm, the part of her arm that's attached to the wheelchair. So let me know if I did it wrong, but looks like there's a couple other weird mod things we got to do, like with the skulls in her hat, so I think this might have just been a problem with the printing of the bit. Well, let's make a whole wheelchair now. Okay, so just a little bit of gabbage in between the two halves of the wheelchair, but overall pretty good. Just had to adjust some of my wheels because those got knocked out of place, and sadly I accidentally knocked off this part of the brake handle. However, normally, well, when I give you the actual order I would do it in, this would be one of the last things you do. Once her hat is on, the hat will kind of protect that brake handle a little bit, so don't do it too early. Learn from my mistakes. Alright, let's work on the hat and head. Okay, this is even pointed out in the instructions that the connection point on the hat for this set of 3 skulls will not actually allow you to slot it in there. The instructions recommend to cut off the skulls from the bit and then attach the sort of U-shape into here, or make it fit anyways, and then glue the skulls back on. I'm going to see if I can just carve it out to a point where it will fit. We'll see if that works, and if not, I'll do what the instructions say. So I'm going to cut this out, sort of dry fit it to here, carve it out with the knife, and see if I can get it to slot in. Okay, it was a long process, but I got it to work. This is what the bit looks like now that I've shaven it down a little bit. And then this is what the hat looks like as well. I'm going to go ahead and slot that in there now. Alright, that's not too bad. Okay, let's grab our other 2 skulls and put them in these extra holes on the hat. Here are our skulls. I'm going to go and clip this one out first. They, on the hat, it looks like those connection points are semicircles. So I'll give a general idea where I think that one is supposed to go, and then I'll add the second one too. Okay, so grab this guy. Well, I'm not sure if it matters, but I did put it on the left side of the hat. Let's do the other one. And there's that one. They didn't, like, pop into place initially. What I did is I put plastic cement in the hole, lined up the skull with the hole, held it there for a little bit, waiting for the plastic to melt a little bit, and then adding a little bit more pressure after a few seconds, then popped it into place. But we're done with the hat. We're not going to pop it off the sprue quite yet. We are going to put together her head, and then clip that out, put that on the hat, and then clip the hat out. So here is her head. We'll go ahead and add her braid. That's just on the other side here first. Alright, those are the 2 pieces combined on the sprue. And our last one is this pipe, which will go onto her left side of her face. Whoops, don't mean to hit the camera. You can see the hole in her lips where it's going to go in there. Be careful, it's very tiny. And there it is. Didn't even need to use the tweezers, although tweezers would probably be useful in this instance. Let that cure for a bit. Don't touch it when you clip her head off the sprue. We'll cut that out and then jam her head onto the hat. Okay? Alright, Abuela's head is all done. We can clip this thing out, jam it on the body, and we're done! Aha, yeah. Okay, got her all done. I did, like, slather plastic cement all over her shoulders. Not just the neck stump, because it seemed a little too wiggly if I just tried the neck stump. Probably because it's not a perfect fit. But she's done. Let's base her. Abuela Ortega is done. This was difficult. I think that was probably obvious. Alright, so as far as assembly order goes, I would start with one half, the left half specifically, of the wheelchair, then put her legs on that, do the left arm, and then the torso. Grab the... go ahead and shave off the sleeve of the right arm of the torso. Someone let me know if there is something I did wrong here, because it just seems like that is in the way and there's no way to get it out of the way without just trimming it off the model. Dry fit with the right side of the wheelchair until the two halves meet without any painful spaces. Then go ahead and add the right hand to the right half, and then glue the right half to the left half, giving you a torso and legs of Grandma with the two halves of the wheelchair. Now do the tank and the back of the seat. Combine those together, add that to the wheelchair, then do the wheels. Don't do the handle. We're going to do the handle last. Then follow the same order I had for her head. Clip out the triad of skulls, shave them down so they fit, shave them down and the space of the hat. In fact, I trimmed out the hat connection point more than the skulls piece themselves until they fit in there. Glue them in, then do the other two skulls, all the while keeping the hat on the sprue if at all possible. Combine the hair with the head, add the pipe to the head, clip the head out, add that to the hat, glue the hat onto the head, and lastly do the handle / brake of the wheelchair, and you're done. Alright, let's look at the whole box. The Perdita Core box is done, containing Perdita Ortega, the Enslaved Nephilim, Francisco Ortega, Nino Ortega, Papa Loco, Santiago Ortega, and Abuela Ortega. All the difficulty was in Abuela. I think that's pretty obvious from the get-go. Nino had his own difficulties, but 2 out of 7 models were really difficult. Everything else was super easy. I'm tired of talking about Abuela, so I'm just going to let this thing spin for a little bit and tell you that thank you for watching. I apologize for having to fix a few things on Abuela, but hopefully now you know how to put her together. I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux.